I'd like to show you why knowing your why is the start of your journey. Without a strong why, it can be so difficult to reach your maximum potential. My name is Dr. Jason Ballara, and every week I meet with real estate investors and mindset specialists that are taking action in order to build a life according to their own terms. We will break down what drives successful people and allows them to achieve at such a high level. If you are a professional wanting to break through, or simply someone that wants to hear an inspiring story, the Know Your Why podcast is made for you. Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Ballara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast. This is a special episode. This is the 200th episode of the podcast. And for this one, I'm going to do something really sort of different format and quite honestly, sort of special to me. I wanted to do an episode on mentorship and bring on people in the multifamily space that have been just phenomenal mentors to me and continue to be that. So I wanted to kind of highlight that. So first, let me just say really, truly thank you all for being on today, but also just kind of always being there as mentors. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thrilled to be here.
I will, I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to do a quick bio so people listening, and also I'll mention your previous episodes because you've all been kind enough to be on the podcast before. So I'll let people know what episode you were on and just do a quick bio. Ellie Perlman, she was on episode 10. Ellie's the founder of Blue Lake Capital Group and has over 15 years of experience in real estate investment, law, and property management. Ellie leads Blue Lake Capital, which owns and manages over 3,300 multifamily units across the U.S. Ashley Wilson was on episode 39. I was looking through this and realizing it's been a long time. Like, how many episodes have been between since it doesn't feel like that long ago, but it was kind of crazy to look back and see what these numbers were. Yeah, because Ashley was on episode 39. Ashley's the founder of Bar Down Investments, co-founder of Apartment Addicts, and co-founder of House It Look. She's a best-selling author of The Only Woman in the Room and has hosted several Bigger Pockets series. She started investing in real estate in 2009 and has been involved in over 120 million in transactions and managed over 10 million in construction within both single and multifamily across 1,500 units. Ashley also advises other well-known operators in their asset and construction management. And Jay Scott, which we were talking before we started recording, are both Jasons and think of it from the letter J. So that was in a fun fact I hadn't known really very long before. Jay was on episode 48. Jay is a co-founder of Bar Down Investments with Ashley. He's an industry leader and has written 5 best-selling investment books. In addition to the multifamily holdings through Bar Down, he's personally bought and sold over 70 million in residential real estate since 2008. He's a sought-after speaker and mentor, and after a prominent technology career, Jay still participates as a strategic advisor for several venture-backed companies in the real estate space. And Ashley and Jay together are mentors in Apartment Addicts. So again, thank you all for being on here. As I mentioned before, we could fill the whole hour with talking about all of your accomplishments, but I'd much rather just talk about, I guess, start with what your mentorship has meant to me and kind of where that has brought me. And then also I want to get, your thoughts on mentorship and your own mentors and how that has, sort of worked for you. But Ellie was actually my first mentor in multifamily right after I got started. And that was a year-long mentorship that was the formal part of it, but certainly she continues to be a big part and a great advisor for me. And currently I'm lucky enough to be a part of Apartment Addicts with Ashley and Jay Scott. And that continued mentorship helps me with, kind of my ideas of where to go and what to build in my own real estate business. So I really appreciate all that, but I wanted to see if maybe we could start with talking about what role mentorship has played in each of your careers, whether it's in the multifamily space or even outside of that, because I know I've had coaches, uncles, aunts, many other people that have been mentors in other areas of my life, but I think it's really an important part of our lives, and I'm just curious how that's played a role in yours.
Yeah, absolutely. I
can. that'll be the hard part, is figuring out who goes first. But yep, anybody, please.
I can take this one first. So, throughout my career, I've actually always had mentors, and many times more than one. And they've taught me, many things, from how to approach, when you go to the city hall and you need to get a permit, how do you do that? How do you kind of use your EQ to get things done and get things moving, and kind of bypass bureaucracy? And, some mentors were my prior bosses when I was an employee, that taught me, how to set goals, and how to focus on what is really important. And then, I also had a mentor when I, started buying real estate. And, my mentor was Joe Fairless. And I basically, when I started, I said, who scaled and built their business really quickly? And I was looking at multiple mentors, because I always felt like there's a lot of very, very, successful and smart people out there, and I always want to be connected with those who are smarter than me, more successful than me, and learn from them. And I've spoken with multiple mentors, and I realized, hey, I want to scale really quickly. Let me choose the one that has done that in a short period of time, because he can teach me how to do the same. And we're around for about 6 years now. And we've owned about 750 million in AUM since inception, in apartment complexes. And so, choosing basically the right sponsor, the right mentor, is one of the most important things that anyone can do in their careers. And you can always, even now, I have a business mentor that helps me increase EBITDA and grow the business income. And it's, different mentors, and in different parts of your career, you basically would want to have different mentors to teach you different things.
Yeah, for sure. How about you, Ashley? You're gonna say something?
Yeah, I personally believe there's basically, if you want to oversimplify it, there's 4 different types of mentors, and it comes down to 2 different categories, and you have to decide between them. So, for example, if you want an informal versus a formalized mentorship, and then the type of person you are you an integrator, or are you a visionary, or maybe you're a combination of the 2, and then you want to match with someone who fits that exact profile that matches yours. So in terms of different mentors that I've had along the way, I've had kind of different combinations of those, versus, like in terms of a formalized mentorship, who is more of a visionary, focuses on the business instead of in the business, versus someone who's more tactical in their approach and is more of an integrator approach. And you might have someone who's formalized or informal, just like Ellie was just saying, in terms of the example where going to City Hall and getting permits. That's more of a tactical mentorship. So I think mentors serve a tremendous amount of role, guidance, with helping you progress to another level. I can tell you my personal journey, I was really against mentorships at the beginning, at the onset, because mentorships and gurus kind of get lumped into the same bucket. And for me, I didn't separate the 2. It was more my own internal issue that I couldn't separate the 2. So I lumped them together. So I was not in favor of joining a formalized mentorship program for years. And it was definitely a hindrance on my personal growth and our company growth. I think if we had joined earlier, I think we could have gone further faster, just, like Ellie was just pointing out, that she did. And she was very intentional on who she sought out for a mentorship. What I realized after joining a mentorship program was, yes, you do get the added value in terms of the tactical way in which you operate the business. But one thing that's not often talked about is the amount of opportunities that bloom from that mentorship if there's a community-based mentorship. So to put that to an example, two deals that I partnered on were a direct result of that formalized mentorship program, that if I hadn't been in that mentorship program, I wouldn't have had those opportunities. And some could argue that then I might not have gone down the journey that I went down, because those opportunities led to other opportunities, which led to where we are today. So I'm a huge proponent for joining mentorship programs, both formalized and seeking out mentors. And I also think that you grow, so your mentor should always be changing as well. Like you should seek mentors, but you should also be growing within that mentorship and that relationship, so that you can find your next mentor. I don't think it's good to stay with a mentor, for 10 years, so to speak,
Right. Right. No, and I think actually that's an important point to point out here. This isn't necessarily just about paid mentorship programs. That there's sort of organic people that you might meet in other ways. So I think when we say that, yes, there are paid mentorship programs and they're great, but like there's other ways to find mentorship throughout, and it might be with people you meet at conferences. It might just be people in the industry. It might be people completely outside of the industry that are mentoring you, as Ellie mentioned, on the business growth side, or whatever it might be. How about you, Jay? What's been your experience with mentors?
Yeah, so I've had mentors for 25 years now. Interestingly enough, it wasn't until the last few years that I've had any in the real estate space, but the mentors I've had have had a tremendous impact on my growth in real estate and as an investor. My first mentors were in the business space. So I did the tech and corporate thing for many years. And my first mentors were business people who basically taught me how to navigate the corporate world. And like Ashley said, there are a lot of different types of mentors that you're going to run into. And what you'll likely find is, if you're open to mentorship, that there will be people that kind of come and go, that fill a specific role for a specific period of time. Then there'll be others that will stick with you for years or even decades. My first mentor that I met back in 1995, one of my first jobs out of college, we worked together for 6 years, and then I moved out of state, took a different job with another corporate job, but he remained my mentor. And then I moved into real estate, and I've always thought of myself less as a real estate guy than a business guy. The reason I think I've been successful growing real estate businesses is because I know the business side of things probably better than I know the real estate side. And so that business mentor of mine kind of has stuck with me even into my real estate career. Then I've had other people that have kind of come and go, like they've served a purpose. I needed a mentor for some period of time, and they were there, and we worked together, and there was a good synergy. And then for one reason or another, one of us was ready to move on. Maybe they fulfilled their role. There was nothing else they could do, or maybe I was the mentor and I fulfilled that role. And then as of a couple of years ago, when I was ready to move from single family into multifamily, I kind of had my most recent experience with a mentor, and that was Ashley. When I decided to move into multifamily, I realized that was the biggest challenge I had faced in the real estate world. And it was the first time in real estate that I really felt like this isn't something that I could do myself. And even if I could do it myself, I didn't want to, because moving into multifamily syndication, at that point, I was becoming a fiduciary for other people. I was responsible for other people's money, millions of dollars. And that wasn't something I was comfortable taking on myself without formalized mentorship and training, because I just honestly didn't trust myself just going and willy-nilly learning the business when I was a steward of other people's money. So back in 2018, 19, I reached out to Ashley. We had been friends for a while. And I basically asked her to teach me the business, because I knew she had been in this business for a while, and she knew this business inside and out. And it started out, the first year or two was very much a mentorship. I came in and I worked for her company, and she taught me the business, and it grew from there. And like we mentioned, different types of mentorships can change and grow and change. And with us, that mentorship kind of progressed and evolved into a partnership, because we realized that there were a lot of synergies between what we were doing. There was a lot of complementary skills, the things she was really good at, I wasn't so good at, and vice versa. And so it started as a mentorship, but it grew into a partnership. And so that's the biggest thing I've learned with mentorships. There's no one size fits all. And sometimes some mentors will stay with you for years or decades. Others will be short term, and some will evolve into things that are even bigger and better than just that mentorship.
Yeah, no, I think, and really, I mean, some common themes from all of you in I think one important takeaway is the intentionality of it, right? It's, as Ellie mentioned, it's like she saw what Joe Fairless was doing. Okay, I know that's how I want to grow my business. Jay came to you, Ashley, with like, I see her as a, a leader in the industry. I want to learn from her. And I think the intentionality of it is probably how you avoid getting caught in that sort of guru versus mentor trap, I suppose, because there are a lot of programs out there that do a ton of marketing, and they do, who they are, but that it may not be the same. It may not be the right mentorship program for you, right? So you have to decide what you want to get out of it and where you want to be in the space. And I think that's one of the things for me where I feel, sort of very lucky to have been able to, I guess, connect with all of you because I see certain aspects of what each of you do as important to me and how I want to grow and scale my business. So I think it's just people looking for mentors. It's not probably a decision you want to make like sort of quickly and just, so whatever pops up on Instagram, oh, this person has a mentorship program, but, do some due diligence in figuring out what works for you.
In my experience, those who are the best mentors are the ones who would be doing it for free if they weren't charging for it. And a lot of them do it for free otherwise. And I think I'd probably speak for the three of us here, Ellie and Ashley and myself. We love teaching, and we don't teach for the money. I mean, obviously, we have a limited amount of time, and we all have mentorship programs that we do charge for. But that's basically because we need to figure out how to get compensated for our time, because there's opportunity cost. But I think I speak again for all three of us when I say we'd be doing it if it weren't for the money. And I'm guessing all three of us spend an extraordinary amount of time helping and teaching others, even outside of what we're getting paid to do, because that's something we love to do. We love to teach, and I'll speak for myself here, but probably the same for Ellie and Ashley. I was so fortunate to have people that kind of helped me in this business, whether it was my corporate world stuff that I was doing, or now the real estate business, that I'm so appreciative of all the help that I got, that I kind of feel responsible to pay that forward.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I think that goes back to like mentors in life, right? Like I feel like I've had mentors throughout my life, like I mentioned, with coaches and things like that, and now into multifamily. But it to me, I see that as like that's just what you do, right? Like that's how you give back. That's how you help other people. When you, like, people ask me questions and I feel like a level of imposter syndrome, because they're like, oh, you've done some deals, let me ask you about this, because I look to folks like you, so you're always kind of looking at the steps ahead of you. But I enjoy it. Like, I enjoy answering those questions. I want to be able to at least help in whatever way I can. And I think that's what I've learned from the mentors I've had in my life, that is how you give back. One weird thing that I feel like I have noticed is, and it's funny, I interviewed Bill Allen recently, and we talked about this. A lot of people don't mention who their mentors are. And quite frankly, that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this, because I'm like, yeah, these are my mentors. This I think is important that people know. But a lot of people talk about having done a mentorship, and then it's almost like this weird secret that they don't want to put their names out there. And I'm not sure I understand that. And I don't know if any of you have any sort of feedback on why you think that would be. But for a long time, it made me afraid to talk about who my mentors were, because it seemed like nobody else did. And I thought there was some unwritten rule that you didn't do that. But it was like, I have no reason not to talk about it, other than if there was, people didn't want to have it talked about. I guess, I don't know if anybody has any kind of insight into that.
I think
I'm always happy to scream from the rooftops that Ashley taught me this business, and so I don't understand that not wanting to talk about your mentors, because that's something that literally she's given me an opportunity that I could not have gotten elsewhere, or could not have easily gotten elsewhere. And so for me, it's, yeah, you should be talking about your mentors, and you should be praising them, because if they do a good job, literally they're giving you opportunities that you're probably going to have difficulty finding elsewhere.
I think part of the issue is that mentorship programs, formalized mentorship programs, have a reputation. I mean, we can't get around it. They all have different reputations. And at the end of the day, when someone says they're from a certain mentorship program, I mean, I do it myself. If someone tells me a certain mentorship program, I'm like, oh, they're really good at probably raising money, but they don't know how to operate. Like, I know right away, because I know what that mentorship program focuses on. And I think that's why people are reluctant to say it. I mean, let's face it, even lenders will loan less to certain students out of certain mentorship programs than others. I mean, that's just a fact. So if you are with a certain mentorship program, and you know in the back of your mind that there are these stigmas, or a reputation around this mentorship program, I think there's a fear that it doesn't necessarily mean that's how you took the information that was provided to you during that mentorship program and use it, but unfortunately that's kind of the nature of the business. My mentor, the formalized mentorship program I did was with Charles Dobbins. He was investigated by the SEC. A lot of people would say, why would you take a program where you knew the person was investigated by the SEC? Well, I actually really liked the program for a lot of reasons. One is he was very transparent about everything that he went through with the SEC. And to me, I want to always know worst case scenario and how you handle worst case scenario, how you avoid those mistakes. Her intention was, how do I scale the fastest? Mine was, how do I see the most problems as soon as possible so I can learn and then build the business that way, knowing all these risks are out there operationally. How do we handle gas leaks, fires, deaths, shootings, all of those things? Those were the things I was focused on when I picked my mentorship program, because maybe Ellie and Jay and I go after two different types of assets. Maybe, Jay and I have a different appetite for very heavily distressed assets and repositioning of those assets, where Ellie, maybe that's not her business plan. Her business plan maybe is core plus. I don't know. And I'm not trying to say that's the case. I'm just saying, in terms of kind of justifying your mentorship and who you chose as a mentor, you kind of almost feel like you have to caveat it by saying, well, Charles Dobbins is also a lawyer and he went through the SEC. He still has his, the ability to practice his I'm blanking on the term here, but his license to practice. And he was, it was actually found that it was his partner that it was at fault and not him. And, so it's almost like, do I have to explain that every time I say that I went with Charles Dobbins, because there's obviously maybe a stigma attached with that program. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think that if you, utilize the program to its fullest. I'm a firm believer. I went to private school for almost my entire life, but my grandfather once said to me, it doesn't matter whether you go to private school or public school, it matters what you make of the education that is given to you as an opportunity, how much you use that opportunity. And I think the same thing of education programs, mentorship programs, if you maximize the resources provided to you, the support that's provided to you, the network that's provided to you, you can make an incredible business out of any program. So unfortunately, it's just the nature of the business, just like it's the nature of the business that if you go to an Ivy League versus a community college, there's a different reputation associated with those two institutions. And we just happen to have that in the real estate world as well.
I guess maybe maybe that's why I don't understand it, because I feel no shame or concern, or what. I don't feel like I don't owe anybody any explanation about my mentors. I'm very happy with everything. So it's kind of like, yeah, sure, I'll tell you. I'll tell anyone, and would recommend them. So maybe, and I think it's your point, Ashley, about it is what you make of it, right? It's like you can connect with the, whoever the best mentor might be for you, but if you don't also put in the work, then it doesn't, it's you're kind of wasting your time. So it goes back to that intentionality, and kind of what it is, what you make out of it. What do you think as mentors, like what do you see as your roles? Like when I know, in some ways it's maybe different if you're talking from a formalized mentorship program versus just like with Jay and Ashley's sort of starting as a mentorship and then progressing to a partnership. What do you see as your role in that relationship with a mentee?
So I think that there are two kind of parts to every mentorship program. There's, if there are videos of written materials, kind of the formal education, which is one part. And, I'm a firm believer that whoever is starting, business is in real estate, in syndication, in multifamily, single family homes, they're intelligent enough to understand the materials that you don't need to get one-on-one time with them to teach them that. The real value is basically when there's specific issues or situations that you're saying, whether a mentee connected with another, one mentee connected with another, and then they're trying to formalize a partnership and maybe something happened there, or a deal that is not really going the way that the students have expected. This is where, at these times, this is, in my opinion, the real value of any mentorship program. If the mentor can get on the phone with you and think strategically with you, hey, this is a situation, here's how I would approach it. Here are people that I can connect you with that might be able to help you. Here's how I would look at the situation. These things, they're you can't put a price tag on them. It's just probably your mentees are going through some things that the mentor was dealing with years ago and can speak from experience. And if not, they know enough people that they can connect the mentees as students with. So I think kind of the combination of providing the basic information on how to buy a house, how to, if it's single family homes, how to flip it, how to raise money, how to, manage assets, and how to exit deals. This is the formalized portion of it. The other one is problem solving. And, if you want to get started and partner with someone, here are the people that, I think you can be a good fit with. And, Ashley mentioned, earlier that there, a few components to it, and that every program, and every program has a different kind of emphasis, and it's absolutely right. So some programs are very, very focused on underwriting, others are on capital raise, other programs, some of them are asset management, but it's usually either the deal side or the equity side, and kind of choosing which one you're attracted to. That's one way of choosing a program. And I think it's also the mentor's role to understand, okay, my program is focused on one aspect. There's no program in the world, not that I know, that is 100%, you can't focus on all aspects of real estate. And so how do you lead the mentee and teach them to compensate for the other parts? So if it comes to, hey, this program is focused on capital raise, how do you scale? How do you hire people with 10, 15, 20 years of experience managing assets and underwriting deals? So the program teaches you that, but really to excel in that, let me teach you how to hire those people, how to progress. Because I don't believe that you can teach someone how to be an A+ in all aspects. Very, very different skill set if you're managing assets versus, raising capital, just different skill sets, different, personalities. So what Ashley said was actually very, on point. Not only when you are reaching out to mentors and interviewing them and looking at the materials, try to understand what is the focus and make sure that you're connected with that specific focus.
I think it's also really important to differentiate between coaching and mentoring and mentorship. And the two are very much related. But I kind of liken it to coaching is a push model, mentoring is a pull model. So if you think about like a professor or a teacher, they're more like a coach or a coach. If you play a professional sport, perhaps their job is to teach you. Their job is to provide you the information you need to go from zero to success. And it's very much a push model. You tell me what I need to know. You tell me what I need to do so that I can be successful. On the other hand, the mentorship part is very much a pull model. You've given me the coaching, you've pushed the information to me, and now it's up to me to go and do it. But I'm going to run into issues. I'm going to run into questions, whether they be tactical, whether they be strategic, whether they be something else. And when I have those questions, I can't expect you to anticipate all the questions I have. So now a good mentor is somebody that's there and waiting for me or waiting for the mentee to come and say, hey, I've run into an issue, or I have a situation, or I've hit a roadblock. Can you help me get past it? And so again, the coach is going to be a very push model. The mentorship is going to be a very pull model. But if you're looking to break into a new business, if you're looking to break into whether it's real estate investing or anything, the best person to help you is somebody that can serve both of those roles. Somebody that can start out with I can coach you, I can teach you, I can provide the information, I can get you started, I can help you define that roadmap. And then as you progress along that path, as you run into issues, again, whether they're strategic, whether they're tactical, whether you run into roadblocks, you come and you say, hey, I need help because I've run into a specific issue. And so the best people out there, the best coaches and mentors out there really serve both of those roles, but they're smart enough to know when they need to be serving one role versus another. And so one of the things that Ashley and I try and do in our group is we like to know who in the group is at the point in their career where they need more coaching than mentorship, whether they need more hand-holding, whether they need us pushing more information and really helping them progress down the path, because they don't even know what the path looks like, versus those who have progressed further, those who have done this a few times, those who have their path defined, but now they're running into specific issues, whether again, strategic, tactical, or roadblocks. And then our job is to listen to them, not to tell them what to do, but to help solve their problems and help them kind of define their own path and get to the next level. And so if you're looking for somebody to help you in this business or any business, look for somebody that can serve both of those roles. And on top of that, somebody who's smart enough to recognize when to be a coach versus a mentor, because again, the two are very different and everybody is going to need something different at a different point in their career path.
If I could just add on to what Jay was mentioning and put it in a real life example, before I joined Charles's mentorship program, I actually went to another like mini session to see if I wanted to join this formalized mentorship group. And to Jay's point, the program was all about pushing out information instead of pulling you as a mentor. They were serving as coaches, not as mentors. And the situation I was coming from was a situation in which, I was partnered with a group that had no problems with acquisitions and raising capital, but they had problems with operations. And I was a firm believer at the time, I'm a firm believer today, that operations is the single most important aspect of the entire business. And it is even more critical in downturns in the market, which we're in today. So I knew based off of the market cycle that was really important for me to gear up on all of that information, knowing where we were within the market cycle and not relying on cap rate compression to carry us forward. When I went to this program, when I spoke with the head of the program who, the figurehead of the program, and I asked, okay, I know you have had this program for a long period of time. What are your metrics behind this program? Since I'm a very data-driven person, I wanted to know the metrics behind how do you define success in your program? And then in terms of how you define it, what do those numbers look like? And they define success on acquisition, not on full cycle deals, not on achieving pro forma. So I knew right away that that was not a fit for me for that program. I knew immediately, because their sole focus was how do we acquire, but not how to operate, not how to protect investors' capital. And to me, that was what I needed. Those were the roadblocks that I was facing day in and day out of operating a very difficult property. And I knew that that mentorship program, to Jay's point, I was past the point of acquisitions. I wasn't focused on acquisitions. I mean, deals were a dime a dozen years ago, and that wasn't the issue. So to me, I was focused on what did I need at that time to get me to the next level. And that's really what landed me with Charles, because I mean, there were a lot of reasons I really liked Charles. The fact that he was a lawyer and provided all of the legal documentation for free, the templates, I mean, that had tremendous value when you're starting up a company and you don't have that upfront capital, that startup capital needed. But coupled with that, he had managed all of his own deals. He had asset managed all of his own deals. He had come across all of the problems I was facing. So, to both what Ellie and Jay are saying, where you come across these issues and you rely on your mentors to help you figure out these challenges, that first program wouldn't have been able to provide those answers for me, but Charles's program did. And that's why it was a perfect fit for me at that time. And that's why I stayed in the program for as long as I did, because I was just trying to get through as many fires, pun intended, because there were fires, as I could, and learn from someone who had already gone through the process, so I didn't have to make beginner mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, it makes total sense. And it just goes back to when people are looking for that whatever mentorship they want to do, they really do need to find what their focus will be and kind of head towards that type of program that provides them what they want. Sort of tying it together, Ellie was talking about the videos, the written materials and things like that, and then on the back end, being there for the advice when there are problems. And I think as Jay said, the coaching versus the mentorship, maybe the coaching is that part, the written materials, the videos, the stuff that's kind of like the nuts and bolts, this is how you do it. And then having a mentor who will be there for you when you, okay, fine, any of us can like read that stuff and try to put it, but it's like, you're going to run into problems that then you're just relying on experience. Like that's really what it is you're looking for your mentor to have that experience of those particular problems or those particular situations that you can learn from their prior experience, their prior mistakes, their prior victories, and whatever it is, just kind of adding that into your almost your own experience base by leveraging off that of the mentors. What do you, so short of sort of going into a paid mentorship, how would you suggest people sort of approach potential mentors? And I know, Jay, you did this with Ashley, so maybe that's and I guess I would even preface this by in that situation, one thing people really need to listen to there is the just being humble enough to do that, because I think it's you were successful already and decided I wanted to make a shift and went to Ashley, who had more experience in that particular avenue. So I just think it's the willingness, the openness to learn, to accept mentorship is a huge part of it. But what do you think is the right way to approach potential mentors, and also maybe if you're trying to feel out what mentorship programs you'd like to be a part of, what should people look at there?
Yeah. So Let me start with when I approached Ashley, I needed more than mentorship. I needed coaching, because I knew nothing. I was starting from scratch, and Ashley and I actually knew each other for a few years at that point. We were both doing single family stuff, and we were both focused on some different niches in single family. And I think it's safe to say that Ashley and I were kind of already each other's mentors in the stuff that we were doing in the single family space. But Ashley had moved into multifamily as well. And she was well established and well entrenched in multifamily at the time that I basically decided I wanted to get into multifamily. And so she would have been happy to provide kind of the mentoring for me if I had questions, if I had roadblocks. But I needed a whole lot more at that point. I literally needed somebody to hold my hand and teach me the business. And so when you want coaching, typically you're going to have to pay for it, but it doesn't always have to be with cash. I didn't go to Ashley and say, I'll pay you $1,000 or $10,000 or $1 million to coach me. What I said was, let's do a trade. And I offered value in return for the value that she was willing to offer me. And I basically said, look, let me come work for your business for a year, and you'll have access to me, my time, my effort, my knowledge, my Rolodex, happy to invest in deals, basically whatever you need from me. Basically, let me just devote myself to you for a year. In return, coach me, teach me, help me learn the business. And so I didn't ask her to coach me for free or mentor me for free. I basically said, I'm going to provide you equivalent value for what I expect to get out of it. And again, it could have been paid. I could have said, hey, I'll pay you $1,000 or $10,000 or $1 million. But for me, at that point, I had the time and the ability to kind of say, I can just devote a year of effort to you and your business. And so that was a fair trade for her. And she said, great, come on, let's do it. And so it was in that year that, again, I traded the value I had for the coaching that she had. And we realized that this was just a viable partnership and just tremendous synergy between us. And so, again, anybody that's out there looking for, if you're looking for a mentor, you don't have to pay for a mentor. And in fact, if you just want somebody to bounce ideas off of, to help you get past roadblocks, I think it's probably safe that the three of us sitting here, all four of us sitting here, would be happy to serve as somebody's mentor. If somebody has a question about something, people send me emails all the time. People send me Facebook messages all the time. People come up to me at RIA meetings all the time and just ask questions because they're trying to get past some roadblock or issue. And I think all four of us are probably the same when it comes to people asking us questions. We're always happy to help and mentor from that respect. But if you want coaching, if you want somebody to kind of teach you from step one, you're going to have to be willing to provide value in return, whether it's your time, whether it's your energy, whether you're paying for it, whatever it is. That's a significant undertaking from the person that's providing that value, the person that's providing. You don't go to college for free for the most part. You don't get that kind of coaching and step by step for free. And so what I would say is figure out what you're willing to give in value. And if you're looking to pay for it, great. If you're looking to go find somebody and say, hey, I'll come work for you for a year for you to teach me the business, great. Maybe you're willing to go. I had somebody that came to me 10 years ago and said, I'd love for you to teach me the business. I don't know what I have to offer you, except I have a lot of money. I'm willing to fund every one of your flips for the next year if you teach me the business. And I said, fantastic, let's do it. Well, here we are 12 years later. That person is still my partner. That person still does deals with me in the single family world, still does deals with Ashley and me in the multifamily world, because that was the value he had to offer back then. He had a bunch of money. I was doing a bunch of deals. And so figure out what that thing is that you have to offer, and then trade that in return for somebody to help teach you the business.
Yeah, when it comes to finding the right person to be a mentor or coach, I would say just spend a lot of time researching the same way that you would with a sponsor. If you were to invest with them, start with social media, go on their website, understand what they're talking about. If you like their messaging, they have a podcast, listen to the podcast, get on the phone with them. If they have a conference or a meetup, go there to sense if this is going to work out. It's kind of like dating, because especially if it's a paid program, you want to make sure that you like this person, that the vibe is right, that you have similar values. And that, for me, that is, priceless. And having conversations with them, if you can meet with them in person, that's even better. For me, it was that was very important, just to meet people, and meet with them, talk with them on the phone, meet with them, go to where they are, go to their conferences or meetups they've organized. It would give you a very different approach and kind of insight. It's like seeing a deal, underwriting it, looking at the OM that is, many times, love my brokers, but many times, the photos are retouched, and and the deal can look great. Then you fly over, you get there, you start the property tour, and you realize that this is not what you want, or in contrary, this looks not so great on, the pictures are not that attractive, the numbers looked good, so you flew out there to walk the asset. You realize that this is a stronger market than you thought, that the curb appeal is much stronger, the story is better, you're speaking with the property manager, you understand, so you get a lot of insights from actually getting there. And so I think that would be the way. You can also ask to speak with former students and kind of ask them. And for me also, as the last tip is, I connect with people that are more on the humble side. And so asking questions that are kind of hard to answer or uncomfortable, like, tell me about a deal that kind of went south, or something that didn't work out, and see their, how they respond to it. If they're getting agitated or kind of upset that you ask them that, or if they have a really honest answer and tell you what happened and take responsibility, or if they try to say, I was working with this partner or that partner and I didn't know this and they did XYZ, so it's everyone else but them. For me, that was not the right fit. And so it's almost connecting with someone. It's kind of have to make, to check all the boxes when it comes to the focus of the program, how much you like that person, and whether this person has same values, whether they're, humble, they're down to earth, they're real. And that's the thing, I think, that, and if this is important to you, I think it's going to be priceless. And so, and do a lot of research, of course, talk to former, students. And it's not even the money. Yes, those programs are many times expensive, but it will put you on a certain path, like Ashley said earlier, that it kind of, the people that you're going to meet are going to be the same people that are attracted to a certain personality, certain type, certain program. And if they're more like you, you're more likely to succeed by partnering with the right, type of people. So that's how I would have approached it.
Ashley, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, just two quick comments. One is, I think you should always lead with value. Always, always, always lead with value. I think too many people come up and they're like, can you answer this question? Can you help me with this? This is a problem I'm having, but they don't lead with value. And I'm sure I speak for all of us when I say we are not in shortage of messages every single day from people we don't even know asking for no. I'm talking about people we don't know asking for help and not leading with any sort of value. I mean, obviously I had a pre-existing relationship with Jay, so I would have said yes without him offering that. I knew he had that value before he even said he offered that value up. But at the end of the day, multifamily is, everyone says we're in the real estate business. I completely disagree. I actually think we're buying businesses, we're operating businesses, real estate's attached to what we're doing, but we're not in the real estate business at all. I think that's a misunderstanding of when people say they're in multifamily real estate. They're buying businesses, they're operating businesses, they're positioning businesses, but that's what we're doing. We're optimizing an existing business or creating a new business from scratch. It just happens to be on land. So, and we own that land. But I think that because of that, because we are buying businesses and we're operating businesses, there is not a single person in this world that can't offer some sort of value to a business, because businesses have multiple components. You can be, you can be a lawyer coming into this, or a CPA, or marketing, or good with operations, or networking for sourcing. I mean, there's so many different aspects to this business that it's not that you have to fit in this perfect little box to be in this business. So offer a skill set you already have as your value, because you'll be surprised at how many businesses are lacking that actual skill set. And they will then want to work with you just because you provide a void that they have. So that is another way you can leverage something you already have to gain access in a either coaching or mentorship capacity.
Yeah, no, those great points. And with that in mind, if any of you ever have any problems with your pets, you know who to reach out to. That's for sure somewhere I would be there. I hope you don't, but I will be that person for you. Listen, I know I know your time is very important. We're getting up to an hour here. I want to just let you let people know where they can reach out to you. You know, if they're interested in mentorship or investing or whatever, what would be the best way to get hold of you?
Sure.
So
Go ahead, Ashley.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So for Jay and I, you can follow us on Instagram at either Badash Investor or J Scott Investor. Also, Bar Down Investments is the name of our company. And if you're interested in the coaching company, it is Apartment Addicts.
And if anyone wants to connect with me or my company, Blue Lake Capital, it's simply bluelake-capital.com.
Anything you want to add, Jay? I know you
Nope.
got
As Ashley mentioned, all my social media is J Scott Investor. And if you want any links to anything else, you can go to connectwithjscott.com, and that'll link you out to all the things Ashley mentioned and more.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Thank you all for doing this. Thank you for being the mentors to me and you know, sort of continuing to be there for me. So I appreciate it very much. I appreciate this. I think people are going to get a ton of value from this episode and hearing your perspectives on the topic. And yeah, I very, very much appreciate it. So thank you.
I'd like to show you why knowing your why is the start of your journey. Without a strong why, it can be so difficult to reach your maximum potential. My name is Dr. Jason Ballara, and every week I meet with real estate investors and mindset specialists that are taking action in order to build a life according to their own terms. We will break down what drives successful people and allows them to achieve at such a high level. If you are a professional wanting to break through, or simply someone that wants to hear an inspiring story, the Know Your Why podcast is made for you.